You are watching the Fayetteville Government Channel. Up next, full coverage of the latest meeting of the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods. The Council of Neighborhoods is composed of citizen volunteers and meets on the last Thursday of each month. The Council of Neighborhoods provides a forum for neighborhood associations to share information, concerns, and ideas, and provides a mechanism to communicate with elected officials and governmental agencies. And now, the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods.
Well, good evening. It's July the 25th, 2012, and it's
26th.
Is it 26th? But change my notes. Sorry. Meeting of the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods. We have a quorum present, and folks would like to introduce themselves. I'm Richard Russell from the down south there.
Okay. I'm Stan Lancaster. I'm from next door to his. It's Jefferson Walker on the southeast side of town.
And I'm J.P. Peters from Clever Creek 2.
And I'm Julie McQuaid, the Community Outreach Coordinator.
Okay, so last month we got started looking at some ideas around having a forum for the mayoral candidates. And we decided to do that on September the 27th, I believe, in the council chambers. I don't know the room number, here on 3rd floor at City Hall.
Second floor.
Is it 2nd floor?
Mm-hmm. Top of the stairs.
Oh, sorry. 2nd floor. So tonight we should, I think, spend a little more time seeing if we've collected any further ideas or if we have made any contacts. A couple of members were going to get something up electronically to solicit some questions. And what else do we need to talk about?
I actually had sent a email just a little while ago to you and the other members that were involved in planning it, but it was probably too late for you to get it before this meeting. But it listed some of the items that still needed to be accomplished, and if you want, I can just run through the list real quick.
Yeah, we need to get a look at our list.
Okay, the arrangements that have already been made is it is being held September 27th in the City Council chambers, which is room 219 in City Hall, and it will start at 6:30 p.m. and will be recorded by the government channel. What still needs to be done is we need to get or finalize a forum moderator. Kyle Kellum has another engagement, so he is not able to do, and he was the first choice. There still needs to be a Council of Neighborhoods member that arranges for the media sponsorship. The Northwest Arkansas Times ran an ad last time as the media sponsor, but that has to be arranged by a Council of Neighborhoods member. Then also the stoplight or timer, I forget what the piece of equipment was that they used last mayoral debate. Last month you guys talked about that you wanted to get that again. I don't know who arranged for that last time. I believe Joanne Kavami knows who did. She is out of town until August 5th, so she has been corresponding by email.
I can take care of that because I did it once before with the league, so I can do that.
So that's one of the items.
Okay.
Then mayoral candidates, they can start filing tomorrow. They all have to file by August 17th at noon. So after August 17th, then the Council of Neighborhoods needs to formally invite all candidates that are running. It'd be a good idea if you did that between August 17th and August 30th, which is your next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Then develop the schedule, the time schedule, and that will depend on the number of candidates. And there are a lot more details that I actually included, things to think about when developing the schedule. And then developing the form questions. And the number of questions will depend again on the time schedule and how that's done. Now, Joanne Kavami has volunteered to accept question suggestions by email. I actually posted something on Facebook on the Council of Neighborhoods page, fan page today. Her email is joann.kvamme@gmail.com. @gmail.com, and I also included that in that email that I already sent to you.
Okay.
And suggestions should have the mayoral forum in the subject line, and she will collect those and work on that subcommittee to formulate or develop those forum questions.
Jill, let me ask you about after August 17th, which is deadline for filing. Do we want to confirm with our candidates whether they intend to participate before our August 30th meeting?
That's a very good idea, yes. And it would be a good idea if at least one of the Council of Neighborhoods representatives would take on the role of formally inviting each of them to participate right after August 17th, and give them a little bit of time to check their schedules and things like that, and then get back to you and let you know if they intend to participate.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that.
Okay.
Now, the way I understand it, that the candidates that are on September the 27th, the candidates running for the city council are just going to be given a certain number of minutes to speak, each one to speak.
Yes.
They're not going to be, it's not going to be a formal type setting like the mayoral candidates.
Right, that was what they had done at the past mayoral forum, and I believe you guys had voted on and decided last month that that's how you wanted to do it again. That will be part of developing the schedule. As the number of city council candidates continues to grow, that's going to really determine what you guys, how you decide you want to do that, because clearly there would be no way to have time for the mayoral and the city council candidates to answer questions in that one evening. And the amount of time that you want to allot or how you want to do that needs to be worked into that schedule.
So the questions are only for the mayoral candidates?
Yes.
And the city...
That is what you have decided.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Let's see, you've done this 1 year before, you've only done it once?
We've done since I've been working with the neighborhoods, they've done the mayoral forum once, and that was in 2008. And then they did the city council forum 2 years ago in 2010. There was no mayoral race at that time.
Is excuse me, is the council, do they have a similar deadline?
Yes. As far as filing?
They're the same deadlines.
Okay.
Yes, the filing deadlines.
And so how many candidates for council did you have on your agenda that time?
Last time they chose only to have to allow all of the city council candidates come and say something, but those that were that had a opposition, that had somebody that was running against them, those were the only ones that were involved in the forum for the candidates, and that was just the city council one. And I believe there were, I'm trying to remember now, were there two or there were three that were running for one of them and two that were running for another ward.
I believe there was 3 for Ward 4.
Right.
3 candidates running. But I mean, in terms of, I think there were
Either 5 or 6
there were
total.
3 individual ones.
And we have, I believe, 7 running in Ward 4 alone right now.
Have you got a sense of the total?
Nah, it's way too early
20?
to determine that.
Is 20 an outrageous number?
I wouldn't expect each of the ward, each of the seats to have that many candidates. I really wouldn't. I think Ward 4 is going to have the largest number of candidates, but I don't know. I mean, they can't even start filing really officially until, I believe, tomorrow.
So if you gave 20 candidates 5 minutes, you'd be...
That would be your entire, yeah. So that's why we need to have those numbers before that final schedule is developed.
And we have, what's the set time that we have for the whole shebang?
Well, it starts at 6:30. I would not recommend going too late, but you want it to be long enough to where it's real valuable information comes from it. So I think that's up to you guys.
something I would like to put forward just to consider. I mean, it may not make a difference, but considering that we're combining the two into one program, I think the priority is probably in the mayoral debate to most people's minds, mine included. So I would like for us to consider having the mayoral debate up front, and then follow that with the council positions.
Right.
As a statement.
Right, I agree.
Okay.
Now, if it gets to be where there are a lot of city council candidates, and you're worried about time, you could consider maybe inviting them to come to a special meeting or to the October meeting to give their statements.
Right.
You could separate it from this mayoral forum if you chose to. It's just, it will be hard to determine that until you have the final numbers after August 17th.
Well,
I think that would be a
questions we have to ask too.
That's true.
How many?
Yeah. I think if we do as you suggest and have it as a separate meeting, like when we have our October meeting, for example, or what is the date for? Well, the 27th is the last Thursday in the month, isn't it? So that would be our regular
September.
meeting time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, so October would be the last time that everyone would be able to address everyone right before the election.
Exactly.
So that sounds like a good time to me because it would be a little bit more informal feel, and then people could ask questions as well. You could give each candidate like 3 minutes to talk, and then other people can ask them questions and so forth. So I'm not opposed to doing that separately.
And that is something that you probably could decide at the August meeting.
my initial thought is that it's enormous to do council candidates. Maybe beyond the scope of our capability.
Well, I think the reason that I kind of like the idea is because we are the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods, you know, and the city council members are from each one of the various wards representing those neighborhoods. And so that might be another reason we could get more bodies in to participate in the meeting as well, you know. So
I think we would have, it's just an observation, but it almost seems like we're looking at 2 hours plus in order for all folks to have their say, and then ideas come up, and it might be pretty large. So we certainly want to try to accommodate it if we can see a way to do it.
Yeah, the city council members usually are the first point of contact for a lot of neighborhood issues. So in any way that the Council of Neighborhoods can help encourage that conversation at some point, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement about that. As far as staging the discussion, I'm having a little trouble seeing how we are qualified to do something that big.
Right.
Unless we do it piecemeal. Anyway, we can think on it some more.
Right here? Okay, thank you.
Hi, would you like to mention your name and your affiliation?
Yeah, Clint Schnickla. I'm Huntington Property Owners Association.
Okay.
great. Have you spelled your last name?
SCHNEKLOTH.
Okay, thank you.
Well, okay, we've been talking about some mayoral forum and possibly some council candidate forum that we were going to try to accomplish here in the next couple of months. And let's see now, next on our agenda, have we got any more discussion on this? Any?
Well, I remember our last meeting that Don had volunteered to do some of the items that we talked about. I thought he was going to be heading up the questions, but I could be wrong. And the moderator as well. Do we want to try to make some assignments in case nobody's been?
Both Don and this gentleman who's arriving here with his camera around his neck offered to solicit questions on their web place, whatever their interface is there. They both said that they would be interested in soliciting questions there, and since Aubrey has just shown up, I'll write his name on the list. Have you had any takers who've seen any questions?
Questions? No, but we will ask some at the square also.
At
And
a
Julie
booth.
were able to, that be legitimate, Julie, for you to print a few forms? Did we have a form in the past?
Yeah, I can print out some forms if you want.
To
Mhm.
like their request on
Absolutely.
questions.
Are you
At the last meeting, I had offered my services as far as winnowing out the questions, since that's of any value to you.
Very good. Very good.
And
Um,
I was foolishly assuming that we could talk about the questions, but no one seemed to agree with that.
No, those of us who collect the questions, and I think if we let Stan, sorry, Stan. I can't remember my own name sometimes, that's why
You're
I
Aubrey.
stop and say
Aubrey,
it.
this
When
is
you
Stan.
go up to speak to the council, they want you to say your name.
What is my
on
name?
planning commission. Well, I might think of everything else I want to say while thinking of my name. So, anyway, old age is a wonderful thing. Enjoy it when you get here. But if we have one person or somebody else wants to work with him to go through the questions and in an unprejudiced manner, and then even Don and I will have to know what they are ahead of time.
Now, Joanne Kavami has volunteered to do that. The only reason she's not here is because she's out of town again till August 5th, and she's the one that has put out her email publicly for people to email questions. So I know she would be.
I should contact her as well.
Yes, yes. And the email that I sent you earlier this evening, I actually copied all of you.
Right. All right, so I'll get a hold of her and let her know that I'm available if that's an assistance, any assistance.
So is that Stan, are you getting involved in the question analysis committee?
I think that would be accurate.
That's the note I had from last month. It
Yes.
says July meeting, decide one moderator, also who is the question analysis committee.
Well, my assumption is the questions will cover a variety of issues, but there'll be a lot of questions that, where the wording will be overlapping, and it just needs, as I said, to be winnowed down to the salient points, just so that it's a little bit easier to address specifics without getting out in left field too much, or right field.
Do you think that you and Joanne can do it by yourself, or do you need somebody else?
Well, I think we could.
Because I can help out.
The more input, the better. It's just that as our resources are kind of narrow,
Yeah.
I work with whoever wants, just if I can be of any help.
Well, I'll help out if you need me to.
Okay.
So,
Well,
just let me
you
know.
can call Joanne too, and
Okay.
email her, and just let her know you're on board too.
Okay.
Because like I say, it'd be nice to have 2 or 3 people so that it makes sense to more than one person.
Okay. Great.
Now, last time I held this meeting room for you after the August meeting for the people that had done that, and I left and the door was closed, and you guys had, that way, since you were already here, if you choose to do that after the August meeting, since August 30th is the meeting and is the deadline that we're putting out on the email, question suggestions, I can do that again. You just need to let me know in advance so that I can make sure that the room is available
For us to have a discussion of questions after the August meeting.
after the August meeting.
You know,
That's if you
just-
choose to.
The ones who are going to
Yes.
deal
Yeah.
with the final one.
Right. Just the subcommittee for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would select them and decide the final list of questions.
And decide on how many you could really ask within the time period that you're given, because, and kind of put them in some kind of priority in
Right.
case you don't have time to ask them. So,
It'll make a difference if there are 2 candidates, or what did we have last time, 7 or something. So it,
Yeah. 5 or
it's a slow
6 or
process,
something,
yeah. And so, regardless, we'll have to make it reasonable. Yeah.
Aubrey, have you got any more input for us regarding moderator or media sponsorship contact?
No, and we didn't get what I tossed out as the first choice we've done in the past. And so we still have to get a moderator who will
Do you
be
think,
independent.
Lyle, have any suggestions?
Actually, Kyle said he couldn't do it, but Joanne had asked Dean Shields. I'm not familiar with him, but she seemed to think that he would be a good moderator. I have not heard back as to whether or not he could do that. She said she did have a couple of other thoughts of potential moderators if he could not. So if anybody wants to work on getting the moderator, I would work with Joanne.
I'd like to work on
by email.
assigning 2 guys to follow up on that, if that's within my purview.
Well, I'll keep in touch.
If you want to work with Joanne.
We all keep in
You
touch
guys
on
know
that
Dean
subject.
Shields? Is that a familiar name?
The name's Ray, and I'm not sure which face I'm supposed to put on
I have 2 names that I don't know if I should throw them out since
Go ahead.
we're recording. But,
it. No, it's okay. I mean, I think we're
well, the 2 I have in mind is
Insulting anybody,
Steve
but-
Smith and Catherine Sherrills. I think either one of those would do a good job.
well. Catherine Sherrills would be a good choice. Steve might be politically involved to the
Yeah.
point that wouldn't be
Yeah,
appropriate.
yeah,
So,
that's right. Yeah.
but Catherine Sherrills certainly would be.
That is a possibility. Of course, that is very close to the time for Gridiron, the annual Gridiron, which
Oh, yes.
she is
always-
extremely
Yes,
involved
she
in.
is, yes.
But that is possible.
So let's find out if.
I
Go
can
ahead.
check with the League of Women Voters, and see who we've used in the past. I was trying to think of the what was her name that we used in 2008 for the JP races and the city council races, and she did a good job as well. So let me check with them, and I can let you
Okay.
know.
That's great.
I have some ideas.
So we need to be communicating outside this room
Right.
very quickly before the next meeting. And
Okay. I'm wondering if we need to move on. We had, did we have a presentation regarding Fayetteville Town Gown updates on that?
Just a very brief update.
And
do you want me-
We have one neighborhood rep here, so we would like to hear from him what he's
Absolutely.
got to hear about. But yeah, we I don't have very many notes about the town and gown aspect.
Well, last time we met, it was before the Town and Gown Advisory Committee was being voted on by the City Council. So in case anybody wasn't aware, I wanted to update that was approved by the City Council. They've established a Town and Gown Advisory Committee. It is a 21-member committee. There are 7 representatives from the city that are appointed by the mayor, 7 that are appointed by the university, that are university staff from different departments, and then there are going to be 7 community members. 1 will be a city council representative that will be appointed by the mayor. 1 community member from each ward. 1 University of Arkansas student lives off campus within the city of Fayetteville, and then 1 Fayetteville business owner or member of the development community. And those vacant spots will be advertised for, I believe the advertisement's actually going out tomorrow. They will go through the standard city council advisory committee process where they submit an application indicating which seat or which committee and which seat you're applying for. Then those will be reviewed, and the city council nominating committee will bring in candidates for interviews, and then they will give their proposed, or who they propose to fill the different vacant seats at one of the city council meetings in September. And then the city council votes to approve or change it or whatever at that time. So I believe the committee will actually start active public meetings in October. They've just set the date for the third Monday of the month from 3 to 5, and the location will be hopefully decided on in the next week. Yes?
Excuse my ignorance, but what's a town and gown?
Town and gown is something that a lot of communities that are home to a large public university or colleges, they face very unique situations. They have temporary residence with the student populations. They have a lot of property that they're not able to collect revenue on, like property taxes and things like that. So there are a lot of very unique situations in those. So they have formed, or they're typically called a town and gown. Town is the city, the community, and gown, of course, is the university and the students. And there actually is an International Town and Gown Association. I attended the conference a couple months ago and got information while we were discussing the potential, because there are a lot of communities that have formed these town and gown advisory committees, and brought those recommendations and input from the community members to the city council, and that's where they decided to form this committee.
Would that be the first organized structure that tries to relate the university to the town structure?
Actually, as far
or is there
as
another one that exists already?
As far as I'm aware, this is the first one. There have been some task force. There was one that was formed by the city back when it was the board of directors in the 80s, when we were working on what ended up being the Walton Art Center. That was a partnership and it was kind of a temporary committee. It wasn't one that was established, and this is actually established in city code now. It's in city ordinance. There have been some other ones, like when, again, they're talking about the Walton Art Center relocation, or different development, different issues over the years where a temporary committee was formed, and there were some partnerships, but this is, as far as I'm aware, the first formal committee that's been established by code.
Okay.
And that term goes back probably several hundred years.
Yes, it does.
In English literature and so forth, talking about this clique of intellectuals and the town folk. And
Well, I've heard it before. I've just never heard of a town and gown committee before, so that's new to me. But I'm a farm boy, so.
Well, this is a good place
You
for a
don't
farm
see that
boy.
many gowns around campus anymore.
They're just on graduation
Not like
day,
it
so
used to.
it's
Yeah, no, that's a good thing.
There's not much to wear gowns, but it's surprising what you can see.
In addition to on the town and gown update, I wanted to also say that we finished the giving out information at the UA incoming freshman orientations during the whole month of June. That was very successful, and they are having another orientation session the first week of August that we've been invited to. Again, I'll be out there at one of the breakout sessions providing them information packets about Fayetteville. I will also be providing some in the student housing to a lot of the incoming students. And we're continuing to work on other ways to get information out and connect with the university. And so even before this committee has started meeting, the partnership has already grown. And the Community Resources Office, I want to say, they have been working on this for years. And they have a really good relationship with the off-campus connection office at the university. And they work closely with like the students involvement office. They do have an established relationship, and this is just taking that to the next step. They have been doing a great amount with the resources that they had and with their limited area of responsibility, but this is just taking it to the next step.
And I bet the neighborhoods closest to the campus will have representatives from there. neighborhood association going up to this committee in many cases.
I've had a lot of inquiries. People are interested, and I actually brought some printed applications with me in case anybody in this room is interested. But yes, there are a lot of people that are going to be applying for those community seats. I think there's going to be a lot of interest.
This will be the usual committee thing of you have to be a registered voter, live inside the city, or?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's, and we hope the students that are on it are registered voters too.
Yes.
We should try to get the students to register.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They should be voting here and not missing elections or having to drive to their hometown. Well, I think we're all excited about that because we've heard these meetings in this group and other meetings in the city about something's going on because they don't have any interaction directly with the students except speeding or something that bothers the neighbors. Well, if I may say, at 7 o'clock tonight, the Sierra Club and one of the religious organizations called whatever, Power and Light. Anyway, they're talking about the potential changes in the state's policies on the future, for the future on energy use, and trying to get public input and share it with the governor and legislators and so forth. Hope some of those are going to show up for the future as we see the critical situation with clean energy needed. And so everyone here is invited. I wish I could have invited the public a week ahead of time. We just had this meeting on the same night, so we can't.
So it's open to the public?
Yes.
At 7 o'clock tonight?
7 o'clock, yes.
And where is it?
It's St. Paul's Episcopal.
Okay.
And there is food, something we seldom have at this meeting.
Always gets people in.
Well, if I'd said that a week ago to Bill and Governor
Right.
Chatley, it would have helped attract more people. But you guys will get some good snacks if you go from us. And you will get to speak. It's got a panel of people from different areas with different kinds of knowledge on these subjects, but it will allow public comment. And the reason I was late was out taking pictures of what was going on in my neighborhood. Some of the flooding and silt fences where they just put in this silt fence, and I knew exactly where to go. Where it comes to a little corner, that's where the water bursts underneath and flows down the street. And it's the first time it's rained, and I did see when I was there, as I was leaving, I saw one of the workers come look at the place. Nothing he could do fast to stop it. You know, they've got material to close those. But meantime, Beaver Lake's getting a lot of nasty mud from a bunch of places like that in town. But anyway, I'm going to record video of that meeting after this. That's why I'll have to leave a little bit early. But I don't know what else you have on the agenda.
Well, I'd like
hoping
to hear
from other neighbors.
Clint,
Yeah.
this is Huntington POA, right?
Correct.
And did you have questions or a presentation or just come
No,
and say howdy?
I'm just new. The previous president was Dave Flynn. Maybe you came to some meetings. I don't know. Cut almost everybody's name here. Julie, Stan, Aubrey, Don.
Richard Russell.
Wait, who's Don?
Don is the past chair.
We were talking about a Don earlier.
Yes.
Okay, Richard. Okay, nice to meet you. And what's your name?
JP.
JP. Nice to meet you. And so I just haven't been to one of these yet, and I thought it would be interesting to come down.
I'm not visualizing your neighborhood, your
We're directly
location.
to the east and behind Butterfield Elementary School.
Oh,
Do you know where James Keenan lives?
Is this a famous structure that you can see from all over town?
Well, like that Keenan Tower house that's up there on the hill. You know that tower?
Mm-hmm.
So our neighborhood is the whole neighborhood to the northeast of that tower. James Keenan has maybe like a 30-acre lot right in there behind the elementary school. And then there's there's a trail next to the rehab center that goes straight back over to our neighborhood, and then we're a circle neighborhood right in there, sandwiched between there and crossover.
So there's some public trails through there?
It's a funny thing. It's like a public trail that's on private land. I think that the two neighbors, Keenan and then the other guy who owns like a big lot there, also allowed a trail to be, like a city trail to be put in, but it's like literally going through their yard. They have a very big yard, you know, so you're like going through their yard, and then yeah, then it's not, there's no public trails back in our neighborhood, but you know, they're putting in that trail on crossover, so that's going to be a easement through maybe a dozen households in our neighborhood.
Am I casting around the right place to think about a connection with Gully Park?
Our neighborhood doesn't touch Gully Park,
No,
no.
it's further over, isn't it?
It's
You
further
know, if you're
south.
going up Old Wire,
Yeah.
and you go north from Gully, and you go around that hard curve,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and there's the Seventh Day Adventist Church. The very next left is Oak Bailey, and our neighborhood is back in there. You really don't go in there unless you go in there. You know, there's no through.
So you're not one of the neighborhoods in that part of town that has some new development coming, proposed or approved yet?
The only thing that's been built in our neighborhood in the past like 5 years, it looks to me like there was one house that was built by an architect. I think it won some kind of awards. It's just up behind us. What's his name? Marlon Blackwell. Yeah. And then down around in the backside of our neighborhood, and I don't know the history of this or how this happened, but somebody was able to zone apartments in the neighborhood, which is actually against our covenants, if you read our covenants, but there's a set of apartments back over by our pool, and those were built like 3 or 4 years ago, which is, it's not a big deal.
So at that time, the neighborhood didn't go to the meetings to fight it?
I honestly don't know what happened.
Remember.
I'm new. I've lived in Fayetteville since the beginning of 2011.
Okay.
So.
Well, you know, it's really important that you come or get somebody to come regularly, because these meetings are pretty dull. Nobody's got an issue.
Except whenever the...
And are any of you POA representatives then, or you're all here for some other reason?
Neighborhood association.
Yeah, we're all.
I'm not a POA. No.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just neighborhood association. A POA is a private group, whereas neighborhood association includes everybody. Renters, anybody who lives there, landowners, property owners.
There's a good list if you run into it on Access Fayetteville.
Yeah. JP, yours is a POA, right?
Yeah, I think people use that interchangeably a lot, HOAs and POAs, you know, without really knowing the distinction
But
between.
it's quite different. You've got those covenants.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to see.
What
You
that
can
neighborhood
share
does
your,
not have.
so we could update your list.
Well, that's how I knew about your meeting, is I think I am updated on here. I can double
Well-
check, but you sent me a email.
Yes, I did. Dave Flynn actually let me know last month
Oh, okay.
All right.
that that you were now the representative and so I replaced the email.
Okay.
But David Flynn actually was here quite a bit. He was one of the more active neighborhoods. So.
And so what neighborhoods are you representing then?
I'm Jennings Plus. I'm just south of Archibald Hill.
Okay.
And I'm Town Branch, and that's south of Brenda's Bigger Burger. You know, University of Razorback Road.
Yeah.
Everything from Razorback Road to South School, and from MLK down to 15th Street and back over to Razorback. So we've got industrial things in there, and
Yeah.
lots of shopping, restaurants, and a bunch of homes 50 years old and 100 years old. So it's on you're near the big trail, that Trail of Tears, and Civil War Trail.
Right.
It's Old Wire Road is probably what it is at that area.
Yeah.
And South Duncan and South Hill go down carrying that trailer south from MLK.
Right.
So we're on that also.
Okay.
So the now your neighborhood, Stan, is south of his,
South and east,
south and east.
over that way.
Okay.
Essentially from 15th Street up to 6th Street, and from roughly Morningside over to South College.
So is it the neighborhood south of Mount Sequoia?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm the lone one. I'm from West Fayetteville, that area, out Mount Comfort Road, past,
Okay.
just west of 540.
Okay. By Mount Comfort Presbyterian, that area?
Yes, matter of fact, you just go around the curve and that's Clever Creek Edition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Are there overlaps between, are there sometimes neighborhood associations that are overlapped with POAs, or do POAs usually just function as a neighborhood association?
That question Julie might have a clue about.
If there is a official POA, then that's actually active or that hasn't dissolved in some way, then they usually will act on their own. And then there are neighborhood associations that will take the area that is not included in those covenants.
Okay. So is there a neighborhood association around us?
You're pretty much out there on your own. There actually aren't any. I don't believe there are any that
You'd be
are
talking like
even adjacent to where your neighborhood is right now that have been active for several years.
Because the only thing right by us is all of the homes and apartments that are on the golf course there.
Right.
And then there's a neighborhood in between us and that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never heard of an association of houses there, or of any kind of association.
Well, Julie, it would be quite logical for him to try to organize a neighborhood association that included your POA. That's probably...
Yeah, maybe.
You might. I don't know if I would encourage that because you might cross some lines as far as POAs have covenants. They have certain things that they
Right.
enforce.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible for a POA to work in conjunction with a neighborhood association that's in a larger area. Absolutely.
There's actually some stuff about us not representing or including homes that aren't officially zoned in the POA. It's kind of tricky. And then people want to, like, every year we'll get contacts of people wanting to buy into our POA so that they can use the pool or that kind of thing. And that's actually restricted by our covenants, and so it gets...
Yeah.
Huh. Well, but that's sort of like the town and gown committee. If you work with the rest of the neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood, then you will be stronger and you will make some agreements, like don't speed through our covenanted area, don't speed through my neighborhood, or...
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because then that actually was the only issue of real note like this last year, is we have this big steep hill on a portion of our neighborhood, and people do cut through our neighborhood sometimes. I don't know why they do it, because there's no way that it's faster. It's got to be the same to just go up Old Wire until you get to Old Missouri and take a right there. But people do, and then when they cut through, they try to make up the lost time by going really fast down that hill. And the city was really great about it. We contacted, I think his name is Justin. What's his last name?
Tenant, he's a council member.
Yeah, and he came out and looked, and then the city decided to put in a crossing sign and a school crossing at the bottom of the hill. I don't know whether you could even legally put some kind of like bump on the hill, because it's such a a big hill might be dangerous, but at least then people are seeing down at the bottom of the hill there's this like crossing.
Right.
Because a ton of the Butterfield kids walk back, from. So
that's wonderful.
yeah, but I don't have any presentation. I just came really to kind of get a sense of some of the other. I already learned a ton, so thank you.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you.
It's great if you come and listen and learn or not, but just come and share what you have, but listen to all the others. When we have these seats filled with a bunch of angry folks from their neighborhood, some issue that's killing them, then we sit and listen and simply share that on
Yeah.
city government channel, and it's like the first place an organization should come when their neighborhood is affected by something. Say it here, go to the park board, you go to the planning commission and their subdivision meetings, and then finally to council if the issues going that far. But many of them no longer go that far. So if you're not there for park board, council of neighborhoods, and the lowest level of planning commission, you may never get to say anything because they're in-house approvals that go on that didn't used to be that way. Fewer things get to the council. So it's nice for neighborhoods to be aware of that. And step to the plate as soon as you have.
I could see that. Our neighborhood's interesting. I feel like people in our neighborhood are really networked. So when like the thing came up about the street, we have a Facebook group. It's like unofficial, but we can people talk about different stuff and work and figure out and then strategize. So like with the street thing, it's like who knows somebody who can. And Don Moore, who's my neighbor, called up Justin because he knows him, and it's pretty effective actually.
That's right.
So yeah. But the best thing is the Facebook group. That's the best thing we've done in our neighborhood, I would say, in the last year, because you lose your dog, you can find your dog in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that really makes a difference.
Power goes out. Is your power out too? And so yeah, it's real handy.
If you're your group or somebody hasn't liked the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods fan page, it's probably a good idea. That way you get notified, because I put a lot of announcements related to neighborhoods on that, and then you can just share it to your whole group.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's awesome to know. And it's just called this, which is on the top of here.
Yeah, Fayetteville
Council of Neighborhoods. Okay.
And it's a fan page.
Okay.
Richard, if I may be excused, and I hope all of you will come over.
You want to leave a proxy vote on adjourning for later?
I make a motion that you adjourn when you get ready to.
Okay, so we know where you stand on that issue. Hope things go well at your meeting.
Thank you.
And Clint, it's good to get your energy in here and come and be a resource for other people who have problems to solve. Share your experience in that way. They may not watch this video, but they might come and have something on their mind sometime. You can help them with a suggestion too. It's asking for a chair report, but I don't really have much of a report tonight. Anybody got further things of interest in your communities, in your neighborhoods?
You want to know?
The only thing going on in my neighborhood is deer running down the street, and
Send them my way.
And
I haven't seen a deer since I moved here.
well, my dogs would be happy to see them your way. And in January of 2011, it was, I believe, I got my first letter from the city about the sidewalk. Well, I still live where the sidewalk ends, but the city was kind enough to contact me at my prompting to tell me that yes, they were still planning on getting that done by the end of the year. And I said, well, I can thoroughly understand why you wouldn't want to be doing that now. But it's just, there's other priorities and limited amount of money. But it's that last 10% that will connect with MLK. And of course, there's not a sidewalk on MLK, but I worry about the people that walk down Morningside in the street, because there's not even a shoulder to walk on, So I'm looking forward to that being done, but I was just amused. I was appreciative that I was contacted by the city planning and told that was still on the agenda, and they hope to have it done by the end of the year. So
There's not a sidewalk that goes under the overpass either, is there? Because I see people walking there all the time. That's a dangerous intersection to begin with. 540 and MLK. There's not a sidewalk on either side, not that I can recall. And there's usually people that are walking through there, and you've got traffic turning from every which direction there. It's a very dangerous area. So.
Well, it's just not a contiguous sidewalk. There's bits and pieces, but it's just not connected. And you know, there are more people on foot these days, and I think that the foot traffic will increase, or bicycle traffic, or whatever.
And I think the state is taking that into consideration. It's just those are both state controlled roads, and so that has a great deal of bearing on the improvements. But I mean, they are doing improvements in that area, so hopefully they'll be adding some pedestrian stuff.
If you're talking about MLK and 540 intersection, aren't they getting ready to do a complete extra lane on both directions there? Everything's going to be rearranged.
I-540 is going to be under construction for the next several weeks at different times. That whole, according to the state highway department's website.
They started in the median in between. And got 2 or 3 different kinds of things going on there.
Well, they did have only one lane there for a period of time. They only and it was at night, you know, when there was not as much traffic. But they did have one lane going both directions. They closed down one lane while they were doing some work. But they got a long ways to go.
So they'll move out from the center line. We'll see quite a bit more going on.
And just because I found it significant in my neighborhood, yesterday I was talking to a man who was going door to door trying to sell a newspaper. And I was talking to him out front, and lately I've been feeling like, you know, life has been unfair to me. You know, my tomatoes have all burned up, and the rabbits ate all my beans. So, but I'm standing in front of the yard talking to this young man, and there's lots of squirrels in my neighborhood, and most of them in my yard, and they run up and down on the wires. That's how they get around. They go from those to the trees. And I was standing watching, and I saw an animal, and I thought, what the heck is that running down the wire? And I realized it was an adult squirrel that had no tail. So it had no tail to counterbalance, but it was still able to run down that line. It ran all the way down the line to the transformer across the street. I guess it was heading south. But it was one of those moments where I just stopped and I thought, you know, at least I still got all my parts, you know. I could get the job done. I was just impressed that the squirrel was able to run down that wire without a tail and still maintain its balance. So it could be worse.
So, continuing in the vein of transportation around your house, have I got your location right that you're on Morningside Drive near Huntsville?
Yes. Yeah. I've been 1 block off.
And you're looking for sidewalk to connect you to...
So just to run from Fair Lane, which is the street next to me, the sidewalk that was funded by state or federal money, came up to that corner, and then and from that corner to Huntsville, it was going to be done with sales tax money. But of course, you know, we're not getting the sales tax in that we were a few years ago, so they've had to reprioritize. So that piece has been just kind of lying in wait.
Nantucket got theirs.
Oh yeah.
What, last winter?
Oh yeah, like I say, in 2011.
Well, that reminds me of the need along Huntsville Road itself. There's quite a bit of foot traffic
Especially between
Seven Hills.
Seven Hills, and those are the people I worry about, because like I say, there's no shoulder. You know, or very little, and even the shoulder's not contiguous. So, but again, as Julie said, I understand that that's not the city's problem. It's the state money's going to be here because it is still a highway.
Well, I mean, the city and the state are having conversations.
Right.
It's not solely up to the city unless we just had all kinds of extra money. But as we all know, you know, every dollar has to be spent wisely, and if you can share funding of a project.
Would be maybe a little premature if you were looking at a bigger.
That might be. I mean, I'm sure that will suffice to delay it if that's what somebody wants to do.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on that particular connection.
Yeah, it's becoming more arterial. All right, JP, I'm done.
Oh. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I usually get quite a number of calls, and especially here recently, from individuals on various issues that are going on. So I guess it's because they find my name and they give me a call. And just recently I've gotten calls from 3 different people, and 2 of them have to do with, if you go out Weddington Road past Penguin Ed's there, and there's a major curve there, there are a lot of old...
Past Double Springs, is that right?
Yes, there's a lot of old cars and campers and things of that nature that appear to have been there since the Advent, and people are saying enough, you know, they want to get rid of them, so, or they want them gone, or the neighbors in that area. So I'm trying to work on figuring out, you know, what we can actually do, you know, or who the best person is to contact to resolve that issue. And then another issue is another individual that lives out in that Ward 4 as well, is West Ridge subdivision. And they were told by the developers or the builder at that time, like 4 or 5 years ago, that the city of Fayetteville had promised to run sewer lines out to that subdivision. And they're in the city limits. And they have been paying $53.63 each month to this company in Rogers for their sewer. The city ran the water lines out there, but not sewer lines out there. So they're wanting to know, in fact, you know, to clear up issues, did in fact the city agree to do this, or was this just something that the builders told the people that were buying in that area, but no matter which it is, they would like for the sewer line, the city sewer lines, to be run out into their community. So, so I've gotten those
Can you help remind me where West Ridge is?
It's out Ward 4, West Fayetteville area. Let me see if I can describe it. You go out Weddington Road. It's before you get to Double Springs. It's on the right there, if I'm not getting it confused, because there's several neighborhoods out there that begin with West. And this one is, if you're going out towards Penguin Ed's on Weddington Road, it's going to be on the right there. So there's several people in the neighborhood that are really complaining that they have to make this pay their septic tank fees to this company in Rogers. I can't read my own writing as far as it's Environmental Something Corporation in Rogers. They pay it each month $53.63 for just the septic use. And it's been going on for at least over 4 years, they said. But they're wanting to find out, they want to know if in fact the city did agree to run the sewer lines out there, and if so, why has it not been done by now? And if not, if they did not agree with that, well, how can they get the city to run the lines out there? So,
do you know if any of them have talked to David Juergens, the utility director?
No, they just started with me, and so I've started doing some research and so forth, and I thought I'd bring it up tonight.
Yeah, he would be the first one, because he will know what the plans are, what agreements are made with different communities, and what is in the projected plan in the future, and if there was something agreed upon by the city with the West Side wastewater treatment plant out there, I would be very surprised. Actually, he will know what the status was. David Juergens.
Juergens, okay.
And his office number is 575-8330.
Okay, great.
And he's the utility director.
So these people, are they currently on individual septics?
Right.
They're not doing anything collectively?
Well, I said right, but I don't, you know, when it comes to septic, I'm not that knowledgeable in that area. All I know is that everybody in that community is paying their septic bill directly to Rogers, and have been for 4 years, over 4 years.
Yeah, it's curious to me why
so
anybody would be.
It may be individual ones, or
pay you on anything for a septic system.
Yeah. So.
Unless it's some community collective thing that's.
Well, are they
we
also,
see some of those around town.
Are they also being billed for wastewater in some other fashion?
I think they get their water bill from Fayetteville.
But does it include wastewater? Because like our water bill, and it's partitioned out, and there's a portion that's the water you're
Right.
taking to your home, and then there's whatever
Water
you're,
treatment.
it's measuring how much you, right? It's measuring how much you're putting out too. And I would say that probably most months, we probably spend like $50 on the water that goes out. I have 3 small children, so we do a lot of laundry.
I would say that, you know, the city, from my understanding, cannot install wastewater or sewer lines on private property. Now, they could, along streets, public right-of-way, utility easements, things like that. But if these individuals were told that the city was going to install sewer lines,
It's because I'm kind of skeptical if it's been this many years, you know, and not to speak badly of builders or contractors or anything, but they just want to kind of resolve the issue, you know, and
Absolutely.
see if there is not an agreement, then what can they do to get the city to run lines out there? So,
and David Jurgens will be able to tell you that
okay.
too.
What about the junk car issues?
Where is that?
It's still within the city limits. It's far west Fayetteville. It's close to 85th Street, past Double Springs, close to, well, it's right there at Weddington and Hamstring Street.
Whittington and Hamstring.
Right, it's just immediately past Hamstring.
Have you come to code compliance?
No, I just got that, so I haven't.
That would be the first step. That's right on the edge, though, so I'm not
Right,
sure.
it is pretty close to the, right.
And yeah, I would start with contacting code compliance. They're
Okay.
usually, or code enforcement. They're very quick at jumping on things like that. Of course, it is complaint driven. So if nobody's complained about it, then they haven't had a reason to send anybody out there, and they'll be able to give you more information.
Yeah, that's
from
what I
that
was going to
point.
check first. I was going to check, you know, because I have access
Yes.
to the code, so I was going to check there and then call someone.
Abandoned
talk with-
vehicles and
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like it probably is, but they'll be able to tell you.
Okay, great. And I'm not going to talk about trails again tonight.
Did you have a
We've got a
third,
rest of trails.
did you have a third item? You mentioned when you started.
Well, I think due to time, I'll talk about it later. I really wanted to bring up the issue that we talked about in the past, and I don't think I think we agreed to do it, but then we didn't actually do it. And that was trying to promote the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods and get advertisement out there to neighborhoods on what we were all about. And I know that we developed this brochure, or last year, well, maybe it wasn't last year. Yeah, I think it was last year.
It was 2 years ago.
Explaining what is the purpose of FCON and who can be a member, and why should I become a member, and how do I find contact information in my neighborhood and so forth, just general information.
So you've got
So-
several boxes of these in your attic?
No,
10 or
no, we
20,000
just,
of them?
we had started the discussion, and I thought we had agreed that, and I may be dreaming this up, I'll have to go back through all my notes and find out for sure. But we were talking about materials and how we can promote and how we can increase our number and get people more interested in getting more people more involved with the council, and this was one of the items that we talked about. So I think when we,
So is
I
that
know
a prototype, or did you?
this was just done up on Publisher, I believe, yeah, software. And like I said, I can't remember what I know we discussed it, and I thought that we had agreed upon it, but then I think we got sidetracked on some other things, and we never did, you know, move forward with it. But
Have you got any
perhaps
extras
maybe,
of those?
you have this one if you'd like.
Okay.
And I can send it to you email as well. Oops. You
Could you send that to me?
Sure.
Especially since it has the city logo, I think I should probably
Yeah.
review.
And this is,
Yeah. But this was just, well, it
this is
should
a
say
mock-up
draft
of
on
how
there, yeah.
both sides of just one
Right.
Yeah,
signature
I
would
just,
look.
yeah, put that in. But I think right now, you know, with the election and so many things going on these next several months, it might be good that once that's over with, then we can get back into having a more serious discussion or a more in-depth discussion about how to promote and how to build and increase our numbers as far as participation in the council. So And this is just one of the ways in which we can actually do that.
So that would be an item for next month's meeting then?
Pardon?
It'd be an item for next month's meeting?
Oh,
Is
okay.
that what you're saying?
Well, unless we have a lot of things that we need to cover, you know, in August meeting. I mean,
Well, we'll be finalizing our plans about the forum.
and what about the Beauty Mark Award as well? Are we going to move forward with that
Well,
at this time?
I was kind of stunned that someone was offended by the name. I kind of stopped thinking about it after that and worried about why that was offensive. We didn't seem to have many ideas. Are you familiar with the Beauty Mark Award? It's an award that's been given in past years. Julie, Stan, help me out with the verbiage here.
It's been given to both businesses and individuals, not consistently entirely, but there have been several awards. One was the most recent that I can recall for Fayetteville Restaurant on the south side, South 71. It was a Thai restaurant. He built a garden.
Yeah, it's a cute little spot there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice goldfish pond area, cane and bamboo across the back. He put a lot of work into it. And it really transformed it from looking like an old service station into a restaurant. So. And then it's just to encourage people to take the extra step to make something truly attractive or green.
And I think it could apply to residents as well. And I don't believe anyone had a memory of a residence that had one.
No, we haven't done for a resident. We voted on doing 2 a year, 1 to a business and 1 to a resident. But
I thought it was a
I don't think
neighborhood.
or a neighborhood, that's right.
I don't think it was an
neighborhood, right.
individual,
Neighborhood, not an individual
Yeah.
home, right, that's right.
a neighborhood project
And we
or
never,
something.
yeah, we didn't get that off the ground. But
Well, I think there's one activity which would be getting clear what we desire to do as far as an award. And then there's another activity of finding things that qualify. And I think right now we're out of ideas for things that qualify. And that's kind of the status of the situation. I don't think anybody's really against having an award. Has anybody gotten that feeling?
No.
That we don't intend to do an award. It's just that we don't seem to have any fresh ideas right now for one that would be appropriate.
Actually, it's that a council neighborhoods member has to take the lead to solicit nominations from the public, take on the responsibility of collecting those. Then a subcommittee of council neighborhood members is formed to review the nominations and vote and decide, and nobody has done that. There are plenty of ideas out there.
yeah,
It's just so I can't walk in here and decide that the true beauty mark in town right now is Burger Life.
Right.
Something, right?
It has to go through
'Cause I own
that
shares in
established
Burger Life or
process of
whatever, yeah.
accepting nominations and all of that.
So there needs to be a process.
right, right.
Well, there is a process. It's just somebody
Yeah.
needs to take on the role of actually.
Somebody needs to
There
use
you
the
go.
process.
Do it,
Yeah, okay,
yes.
I
So
get
I
it.
was approximately correct in that we're searching for ideas right now, but there are ways to implement a decision once we have some ideas of candidates, correct? Someone comes forward and says, I've got this idea, I'm promoting this idea, right? That's the next step in the process.
No,
Well,
there's just
yeah,
somebody
yeah,
stepping up and
somebody
saying,
stepping up,
I
yeah.
will take the lead in
Right.
the Beauty Mark Award for this time and accepting the nominations and forming the subcommittee and because there is a process in place. There are forms in
Yeah.
place. There's the award in place. It's just a matter of somebody taking on that.
And finding out if we still have the same sponsor, you know, to sponsor the award and so forth. Just all the details of it.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a nomination
It
form. and
is
it's on the
time
website.
consuming. It is
Right.
time consuming, and I think that's what they're, the existing council neighborhood members, a lot of them, well, the ones that are here are pretty busy, and so I don't think anybody's really had the time to take that on.
But I think as we drive around in neighborhoods and just in our daily lives and look at businesses and so forth, you know, just jot down, you know, those names, because I've got a couple to nominate. But right now it's just a busy time and everything until after all the elections are over with and things.
Well, we could talk about it some more in our next meeting. And, am I getting the understanding that we don't just start naming things that we think would make good candidates?
No, not with the existing process that's been in place for 6 years.
Yeah.
That was one thing that the council neighborhoods had down pretty set, the process for that. The partner sponsor, the Northwest Arkansas Times, they were comfortable with the process and the advertisement and all of that at the time. And since they share the funding of it, I would recommend that you have a much bigger conversation and involve that partnership if you want to change the existing process.
You just need a person to lead the process.
Absolutely. Just need somebody to take on that.
JP, I think that's.
But it is a time consuming, it's a volunteer effort.
To do it. Just have a champion.
Yeah.
For the Marilyn Monroe Award, huh?
Well,
it is kind of a funny name. It's gendered. You know, you could call it like the Crew Cut Award or the, you know.
Yeah.
But
that would be
I get it, and it makes sense. You know that it adds something to the face of the city that improves the city as a whole. We should give out a whole bunch when people make improvements on 71 between the university and the mall. That would be awesome. There's a kind of a desert stretch in there where it could be prettier.
You mean 71 or 112?
I drive 71 all the time, college,
Yeah.
and there's a stretch in there. There's some places that are trying to make a go at it, but then there's a lot of places that are kind of, you know, abandoned or whatever.
And that's the economy too.
Absolutely,
I think
yeah.
that's another reason we haven't been pursuing the beauty bar, because it takes money to beautify a place, and hasn't been a whole lot of money for a lot of people for you know, what would be considered extras.
Yeah. Yeah, but even since I've lived here, there's been a number of places that have
Oh yeah, I'm not
improved
saying
their
it's not going
properties.
on, and that there's not continual improvement being made, but it's not moving quite the momentum it was a few years ago.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
well, all right then. Announcements is the next item on the new business agenda. Item number 6, announcements.
I have no announcement.
I brought copies of the city's e-newsletter. We don't print them out, but a few copies. But in case you are not a subscriber and don't receive it by email, you're welcome to take them. And then I also brought some of the committee applications if you're interested in that Town and Gown committee. Or if you know somebody that is, feel free to take one of those. That's all I have. Oh, and I do have one other announcement. I wanted to announce, or actually Aubrey reminded me of this as he was leaving, that we should show our appreciation to Fru, because she is leaving the city
Oh, wow.
No.
in another week.
Whatever
And we're
we
gonna
do.
miss her after 17 years. So our dedicated behind-the-scenes camera operator that nobody sees is
Doesn't she have to get
gonna be
approval
missed.
from us before she leaves?
Yeah.
I mean,
She can't just
she
leave.
she needs approval.
I think she's been with the Council of Neighborhoods longer than anybody else in this room.
Yeah, really. She got seniority, so I guess she can do whatever she wants.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna miss you.
Where you going, Fru?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Well, thanks for everything, Fru. It's been a pleasure working with you. That's definitely true. Let's see, do you suppose that Aubrey's motion on the other tape will hold for now, that you can motion to adjourn?
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
All right. So let's go ahead and dance to the poet. Adjourn.